the Agriculture Minister. That's John Steenhuisen speaking about the vaccination of cattle in the wake of the foot and mouth disease, which is gripping a number of farmers. Let's listen in.
It's just now about taking it to the next level to particularly contain any additional spread of foot and mouth disease. And again, I think what's been very encouraging is to see the cooperation between the Gauteng Department of Agriculture as well as national government to make sure that we also make the circle bigger. You know, it's not just about this facility, but making sure that we have a uniform biosecurity standard as a country and as a province, regardless of whether you are a small-scale farmer or a large farmer.
Minister, in terms of time frames, how long are we looking at to get the situation under control?
Well, it's hard to say. It depends on a number of things. It depends whether people adhere to the regulations. What we don't want is any more spreader events. So that's why we've put in place the regulations around auctions, the moving of animals, farm gate level security before coming to an auction. Those regulations all cover that particular, and it's going to depend on the cooperation. If you have people who move animals outside the disease management area or break those protocols, we're going to see breakouts in other parts of the country as well. And that's what we really want to avoid. That's why we declare a disease management area to try and contain the virus in. The virus can only move out of the disease management area if people break the regulations relating to the movement or spreader events, potential spreader events. So it's going to depend entirely on the cooperation. We saw in Humansdorp the outbreak there in the Eastern Cape, which was an outbreak because cattle were moved from Limpopo, from the red zone into the Eastern Cape, and that's what caused that outbreak there. But there was a very strict adherence, and Agri-Eastern Cape played a very important role in assisting to get that under control and to ensure adherence there. And as a result of that, disease management area is about to be lifted so that they can continue normal trade. But it all comes down to the level of cooperation and adherence to the regulations.
So at this point, we also don't know at what point our export market will stabilize, because we just can never tell when the outbreak is.
Well, once we're able to, through the veterinary services provincially in the various provinces, but also nationally, give assurance to our trading partners that we've contained, but we also have a surveillance system in place to ensure that we can keep them updated, we'll be able to recommence with that.
Minister, officially, how many provinces are affected? Which
Well, at the moment, there are two big outbreaks on KwaZulu-Natal and here in Gauteng, but we have picked up cases in Mpumalanga and also now in the Northwest Province. But those are obviously a lot more contained and are being dealt with obviously on a much smaller scale. But the real big case problem is KwaZulu-Natal. Northern KwaZulu-Natal, I've had to extend the disease management area twice now, because it is spread out from there. And that's largely through unauthorized movement of animals and also some auction events that took place that had not followed the correct procedures, and the department's following up on those. And we can link those back to a number of the other outbreaks.
Minister, what are the consequences if the movement of cattle is moved without the necessary authorization?
Well, there's a criminal charge as for it, regulation, but also I believe that those people then expose themselves to civil recoveries. So places that then have an outbreak as a result of their unlawful behavior or their break of the regulations would be able to claim damages, which would be quantifiable. A place like Karan Beef can quantify the damage that is caused as a result of it. And if I look at the Humansdorp case, for example, which was on a much smaller scale than here, that caused between 80 to 100 million rands worth of damage to the dairy sector there. So people need to be very, very careful, because they will open themselves up not only to prosecution, but also to civil recoveries from affected industries if it can be traced back. And as I said, with the technology and the scientific tracing that we are able to forward and backward trace, it is possible to trace them back to events and to locations where those could have taken place.
And I will be able to quantify just generally throughout this entire period how much has been lost or how much is at risk of being lost?
Well, it runs into the hundreds of millions. I mean, bear in mind now, it's not only consumers, there's also corporate consumers, restaurant chains, fast food places, all rely on operations like this and others like it in order to keep their businesses going. And then also there's a cost to consumers. As you've seen, the price of meat has gone up, red meat's gone up in the last month as a result of the supply and demand disruption as a result of foot and mouth disease. So it does cause big disruptions in the value chain, and consumers ultimately pay more. Anybody else? Right, I think we're done.
Good.
Thank you. MEC, is anything you want to add finally?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
All right, so there you have it, a very brief engagement with the media. The Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen is currently in Heidelberg to try and intervene, I suppose, in the foot and mouth disease outbreak that's affected many farmers, we're told, in the main in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. He says the losses so far are in the hundreds of millions of rands. Want to take stock of just how many people have been affected along the way. But we've also been told that about 900,000 doses of a vaccine from the Botswana Vaccine Institute that have now arrived in the country to help. So hopefully that goes a long way. We'll continue watching that story for you throughout the day.